Of course, you're welcome back. This is The Pulse. We are live on X Spaces. We are on YouTube, we are on Facebook, and of course, we are on myjoyonline.com. And this afternoon, there is a breaking story, a story that we'll be looking forward to all day. Now, the future of Ghana's Chief Justice hangs in the balance as President Mahama suspends her after setting up a 5-member committee to probe a petition that is calling for her removal. Now, this is captured in a statement dated today, Tuesday, April 22nd, 2025, and signed by the spokesperson for government, Felix Kwachofosu. Now, my colleague Kwakwa Sante is in the studio to take us through the details of the statement, plus get reaction from those who are watching this particular space. Kwaku, you're welcome.
Elton.
So, since morning, government officials have been given a hint about what is to come, and finally it is in.
This has been coming in right through the weekend. Like you said, we have been getting some indication that the Council of State, together with the President, had indeed made that prima facie determination. In the last few minutes, Felix Kwachofosu has put out this statement, the Minister of State in charge of government communications and spokesperson to the President, John Dramani Mahama, confirming that the Chief Justice, Gertrude Tokono, has been suspended. Let me read the letter. It says, President John Mahama has in accordance with Article 146 of the Constitution and in consultation with the Council of State, determined that a prima facie case has been established in respect of 3 petitions submitted against the Chief Justice, Her Ladyship Justice Gertrude Araba Esaba Saki Tokuno. The President has consequently established a committee in compliance with Article 146.6 of the Constitution and in consultation with the Council of State with the following composition to inquire into the petitions which have been referred to them. The chairman of the committee is the Supreme Court Judge Gabriel Scott Poaman, appointed in 2015 by John Mahama himself to the Supreme Court. He is the chairman of the court. He used to be the PNC General Secretary.
Right.
Justice Samuel Kwame Adibu Asiedu is also currently a justice of the Supreme Court. He was appointed to the court in 2020 by President Akufo-Addo, and he is also a senior lecturer at the Ghana Law School. Daniel Yao Demelovo is a former Auditor General, also appointed Auditor General at the twilight of John Mahama's presidency in 2016 leading into 2017 as the Auditor General, and then he is the 3rd member of this committee. Major Flora Bazwanura Dalugu is also a major at the Ghana Armed Forces, and then Professor James Sefajisa is an associate professor at the University of Ghana School of Sociology. He is also there. And pursuant to Article 146.10 of the Constitution, in accordance with the advice of the Council of State, the President has, by a warrant, suspended the Chief Justice with immediate effect pending the outcome of the committee's proceedings. So, Elton, 3 things we are learning from this. 1, that there are 3 petitions in respect of the removal processes for the Chief Justice. And a prima facie case has been made. That is, on the face of it, the Council of State, together with the President, have decided that there may be some merit to it that must be investigated. That determination has been made. Consequently, the President has put together a 5-member committee chaired by the Supreme Court Judge, the 2nd most senior Justice Gabriel Scott Poaman, who was appointed by John Mahama himself in 2015 to chair this 5-member committee.
And he himself, there was a petition against him.
Exactly. And on the basis of all this, the President has decided that the Chief Justice should no longer continue in that role, at least temporarily. He has suspended the Chief Justice with immediate effect for these investigations to be conducted. And so these 5-member committees are going to go into these matters. We do not know how long that will take. Until then, Gertrude Araba Esaba Tokono will be on suspension as Chief Justice. Elton.
Right, thank you very much, Kwaku, for coming to this afternoon for now. This statement is signed by Felix Kwachofosu. Felix Kwachofosu is Minister Government Communications, and thankfully he joins us on the phone for some clarity on this matter. Felix, good to see you. Good afternoon. Welcome to the show.
Good afternoon. Thanks for having me.
Great. So, emphatically, the Chief Justice will stay suspended until the final determination of this case.
Yes, that is precisely what has been communicated in the statement.
And this is based on the 3 petitions and the recommendation of the Council of State.
Yes, Elton, I think we are all familiar with the fact that a couple of weeks ago I issued a statement informing the people of Ghana that the President had received petitions from 3 separate quarters, all of which were alleging various forms of wrongdoing against the Chief Justice and demanding her removal from office. Now, the president is bound by Ghana's constitution to act in a particular way when this happens. The specific provision is Article 1466 of the 1992 Constitution. It requires the president to consult the Chief Justice in the process to consult the Council of State, I beg your pardon, in the process to determine whether on the face of the petitions there is any reason to proceed further for the Chief Justice to answer any questions. In doing so, the president rightfully requested the Chief Justice to present responses after she had been served with copies of the petition. The Chief Justice did this. The president then went back to consult the Council of State to determine whether, when you set the responses of the Chief Justice against the allegations contained in the petitions, those petitions are frivolous or they merit further scrutiny. After the consultation process, it emerged that there are more questions that have to be answered and that the petition is not frivolous on the face of it. Now, I must stress, and it is with great emphasis that I stress this, that the president has not by this said that the Chief Justice is guilty of any offense,
right,
or any of the claims contained in the petition. The president is only enjoined by law, after having determined prima facie, to set up a committee to look into the allegations and offer the Chief Justice every available opportunity to answer to these claims in detail. And then after that, the committee will present recommendations for the president to act. Now, the Constitution requires that this process is consultative. And so you find that at every step of the way, the president has consulted the Council of State. Now, once the committee has been formed, and if you look at the composition of the committee, the Constitution makes it clear that 2 of the members must be justices of the Supreme Court. And then 3 other members who are not lawyers and who are not members of the Council of State. So that requirement is clearly met, I beg your pardon, in full compliance with the Constitution. Once this is done, the petitions are then referred to them, which has been done as I speak to you. And then the president, on the basis of Article 146(10) of the Constitution, shall by or would by a warrant suspend the Chief Justice pending the outcome of the investigations of this committee. So the president has kept faith with the Constitution and done everything by the book and ensured that his actions are well grounded in the 1992 Constitution.
The 3 petitions, are they all speaking to the same subject?
Unfortunately, I'm unable to disclose any details regarding the petition because of the strict rules of confidentiality. So I'm not able to tell which issues are specifically contained in the petition.
Because the Constitution is clear on what grounds a Chief Justice can be removed. I see in the composition of the committee that has been tasked to probe the conduct of the Chief Justice in this matter, Daniel Domelevo, a finance person, clearly there may be financial infractions against the Chief Justice.
Well, I'm not able to say as I speak to you because the rules do not permit any disclosure of the details of the petition. But natural justice requires that the Chief Justice is informed about the petitions and her responses are sought, and that was done. And I would like to believe that in composing this committee, the president took into consideration the matters that may become subject to scrutiny, and therefore has selected people who he believes have the requisite expertise and background to look into these matters and make appropriate recommendations.
So as far as the petitions are concerned, only the president, perhaps the members of the Council of State, and those that have been constituted to probe the Chief Justice may be aware of the content of it. Is that what it is?
Absolutely. You've rendered it as accurately as it should.
Therefore, you cannot deny or confirm that what we are seeing on social media, that it may be due to some financial indiscretion and her decision to compose a team to sit on matters, or politically exposed matters that came before the Supreme Court. You cannot deny or confirm that that could be the content of the petition.
As I've been at pains to say all afternoon, I am not in a position to disclose the contents of the petition because it is not to be disclosed as per the rules governing this particular process.
I'm curious to know what went into deciding the membership for this committee? There's Bafuboni, there's Pamwan, there is also Daniel Demalebo.
Well, the guidelines for setting up the committee is clearly stipulated in Article 1466. And I think that the president has met those requirements. If you look at the composition, there are 2 justices of the Supreme Court, which the Constitution stipulates should be there. There's a former Auditor General, there's a major from the Ghana Armed Forces, and then there's a professor from the University of Ghana. My belief is that the president believes that these are people who have what it takes to look into the matters based on what is before him.
So who acts now in the absence of the Chief Justice?
Well, I think that is a matter that the judiciary of Ghana will resolve administratively. They have their own processes for determining who acts in the absence of the Chief Justice. It's not a matter that the president will determine.
Kindly hold it for me, because a former Deputy Attorney General also joined in the conversation after Mr. Chuanyabua, I mean, the president has taken the decision based on the dictates of the 1992 Constitution. Your reaction? If you can hear me, Mr. Alfred Chuanyabua. Let's see if we can get his attention. But again, on the line is Felix Kwajofosu, MP, and of course, spokesperson to the president. So, Felix, there's no clarity as to when this committee will finish its work and advise on the way forward?
I do not believe that there are specific timelines given, and I have not been advised on any timelines that have been given. But I do not anticipate that they will go beyond reasonable limits.
All right. Kindly hold it for me. Mr. Alfred Chuanyabua, a former Deputy Attorney General. Mr. Chuanyabua, good afternoon. Welcome to the show.
Brother.
Great to have you here. So, the president has acted in accordance with the 1992 Constitution. He suspended the Chief Justice pending the final determination of the charges against her. First, let me pick your reaction to the latest development on this matter.
All right, thank you very much. My initial comments are that I'm rather surprised at the suspension of the Chief Justice, even though the Constitution makes for such a step to be taken. I'm surprised because the president is not bound by the advice of the Council of State. And the president may decide not to go by the advice that still indicates that the CJ should be in office while the matter is being heard by the panel. But that's the decision of the president. And I see the advice of the Council of State as being very poisonous. We have to be very careful the way we treat the head of any arm of government in Ghana. We have 3 main arms: the executive, legislature, and the judiciary. The expectation is that the Council of State will play a role in such a way that we can have a balanced chart. There are instances that you can say that they may want to advise the president to suspend the chief justice, but the ground should be so weighty and not hollow. I'm waiting carefully to know the grounds. From what we have read, if these are the grounds on which they recommended that the chief justice suspended pending the hearing of the matter, then I'm so much disappointed in that decision by the Council of State. But
I'm curious to know, are you aware of the content of the petition for you to come to the conclusion that the president may be acting out of line?
We have read part of it in the media, and I can assure you, those that is read in the media are not much different from what the CJ is going to be when she appears before the panel. If, for example, a lawyer appears in court, and that lawyer is disciplined by the Supreme Court, and the CJ has to be the person presiding over that matter, and you may want that to be a basis for the removal of a Supreme Court judge. I mean, posterity will be the bench judge. But I'm not saying that the president has not acted constitutionally, because the president has acted in accordance with Article 12 from the text of the Constitution. My worry is about the Council of State and at times the advice that they give. In the future, if care is not taken, if we have a president who may want to simply just deal with Chief Justice, may simply do things in accordance with wishes and get the Chief Justice suspended until the final determination of the matter. And I have Philip, when it comes to the timeline, we don't have the timeline, but he's thinking about a reasonable time. So from today, if you even take the committee 1 year, 6 months to determine the matter, it will mean that another person will have to be acting as the Chief Justice. And so if at the end of the matter, the CJ is exonerated, then what has happened to the period that has been spent? And the head of the judiciary, as a lawyer, is a very serious and delicate head. But from independence today, apart from coming from that we are told, in a way, remove a Chief Justice, quite different from what we have now. If you want to remove a Chief Justice, the grounds should be so serious, should be so grave, that if anybody gets to know the grounds, the person will say, oh, this one is our ground that we can use to remove.
But isn't it possible that the grounds, isn't it possible that the grounds upon which the Chief Justice is being taken through this constitutional process is grounded such that she has to face it?
She has to face it. No dispute about it. Because by constitution, if you are accused, you need to face it. I'm talking about a suspension. That provision of the constitution is not an automatic provision. It must be applied carefully and thoughtfully, looking at the state of our nation, our democracy, and the way forward. It does not send a signal there that we are serious in protecting judicial independence in this country, but we are only serious in playing that kind of political game with the judiciary. I must be blunt with it.
Are you suggesting...
Mr. Rawlings, as a president in the 90s, had appointed all the Supreme Court judges. He even appointed the Chief Justice. The government then lost a lot of cases. And there wasn't any scintilla of complaint to the fact that the Chief Justice should be this. But in this particular instance, even during the campaign period, I think our journalists have read and listened to what people said. And this is something that we are going to play carefully just to get someone out of office. I mean, as a partisan lawyer, whoever is the Chief Justice, I'll pray for that person. If the CJ is removed, but I'm just praying and hoping that this will not happen again in our history as a people. It will happen only when the matter is so grave that even the child is born today can say this matter is so grave, but not on defensive grounds. I'm also following carefully to see what happens out of this particular committee set up.
The difficulty for all of us is that, I mean, the provision is such that we are not aware of the content of the petition. Whatever is out there is subject to, speculation. However, I'm curious to know why there is so much fixation about the protection the MPP appears to be investing in the Chief Justice, to the extent that all the cases that are in court are sponsored by MPP loyalists and be defended by former appointees of the Akufo-Addo administration. Why the interest in this Chief Justice case for the MPP?
It is not about MPP or MPP supporters. I'm speaking as a lawyer who happens to be a member of the MPP. If this incident happens to any other Chief Justice, if he appointed by the NDC, I will speak the same way I'm speaking. Because the arm of government that has not been backed since 1993 is the judiciary. That's our last hope. And so even if your opponent or your political opponent appoints someone to Chief Justice, you must do everything possible to protect that office. Unless, of course, there's overwhelming evidence that even the other person will look at it and say, this one is a piece of evidence that we think that this man or this lady must do. That's my concern. That's my worry. I have practiced in the courts of Ghana. I have before the judges in Ghana. If care is not taken, the only arm of government left will be battered and going to the future will not be good for the country.
All right, let me bring Felix. I don't know whether you have a reaction for him before I ask you my question. Yeah, so we've lost Felix Kwajufo, so we'll try and get him back on this matter. But let me also, we've lost him. We'll try and see if we can get him back to respond to some of the key issues that are coming up. But also joining us is Professor Ajetia. Prof, good afternoon, welcome. The last time I spoke to you on this matter, I asked whether we'll get to a point where the Chief Justice will be asked to recuse himself from duty until the final determination of the case. Now we've got him to that stage. Yes. Surprised at the turn of events, or you think that this is just simply the rule of law at play? And if you can unmute for me, Prof.
We are following the, first of all, thanks for having me. If we are following the procedures laid down under the Constitution, then that is the next step, the next logical step, which would happen and has happened, because the prima facie case has been established according to the President based on the referral of the matter to the Council of States. And therefore, the next step is to set up a committee. Now, the suspension of the Chief Justice is at the discretion of the President. The Constitution says that he may do so. Okay, so in that situation, the President decided to suspend the Chief Justice. So he used his discretion under Article 146(10) of the Constitution.
And so now we'll have to wait until the final determination of the case. Former Deputy Attorney General thinks that suspension shouldn't be used in these circumstances. I mean, for how long is a person going to stay home? And if the person is found not guilty, I mean, the injury that would have caused that person, in this case, the current CJ.
Well, it could happen either way. And the power has been given the President under the Constitution. So he has the right to exercise it the way he deems fit. Or arguments can be made on both sides. On the one hand, if the Chief Justice remains in office, there's a likelihood that her presence alone may prejudice or may serve as a barrier to the smooth running of the committee's work. And so at the same time, she's supposed to appear before the committee, and the fact that she'll be performing her function as Chief Justice as well as appearing before the committee may also jeopardize her ability to function effectively as a Chief Justice. So on those grounds, it may even be in her interest to go by this, accept the suspension. But on the other hand, as Mr. Chia Eboa is arguing, it may also create the impression that the President may be on his way to dismiss the Chief Justice. But I think that is a conclusion that is too early to come to. And so looking at how things are, so long as there's opportunity for her to appear before the committee, we should say that the rule of law will be respected and the committee will do an honest job of ensuring that fair due process is followed and the Chief Justice is given the opportunity to have a case heard without any bias. And therefore, at the end of the day, the conclusion that will be arrived at will be something that could be accepted by the society as a whole. I think what we need to try to avoid is to politicize the whole process, and that is where the difficulty we have, or I have personally, with the way the commentary is going. So, if we allow the committee to do its work as has been laid down by the Constitution, then I think what the President has done in the first place is not against the Constitution. So he hasn't violated any law of the land. And therefore, it is within his right to do what he has done. So I think the process should be allowed to be followed.
Right. I'll ask you about the process. But first, let me ask you, before I bring back the former Deputy Attorney General, Mr. Alfred Chuanyabua. Prof, so, I mean, ahead of this statement from the presidency announcing the suspension of the Chief Justice, now we've heard comments from the Deputy General Secretary of the NDC, from the National Chairman of the NDC, and even today, almost prominent government officials started posting in the morning, it's happening today, and then the statement came. Now, the comments we heard from leading members of the NDC suggest that this is something that is bound to happen. Now, we've got a committee that has been set up by the president to probe this particular matter. In the minds of those who are against this move, they will say that the fate of the Chief Justice has already been determined by the current administration. What will be your reaction based on the comments we've heard, especially from leading members of the NDC?
I cannot say that. And I'm not sure those who are saying that have the evidence to support what they are saying. What the president has sought to do is to follow the law. The Constitution grants him those powers. In some respects, it says shall. In some other respects, it says may. With the suspension of the Chief Justice, it says may. But the president said, I'll go ahead and suspend her. For the reason that he decided to do that, nobody knows. But so long as it is within the remit of his powers to do that, we cannot fault him for doing that. And if you look at the various procedures and steps that are outlined, he followed them, allowing the Chief Justice to respond to the petition, and then for the Constitutional, for the Council of State to review it and to come to the conclusion that a prima facie case has been established against the Chief Justice. The next step is to set up the committee. So long as the Council of State has said a prima facie case has been established, the president cannot say that I will not agree with that decision. So having come to that conclusion, then the president has to do the next step, which is to set up the committee. Now the committee has been set up. The membership of the committee also follows the process and the procedures set up by the Constitution. So that is also in line with what the law is saying. As to whether it's a foregone conclusion, I cannot tell, and I'm not sure those who are also arguing so can tell.
All right. Prof, hold it for me. I'll come back to you. But let me also bring in, so I've got a Deputy Attorney General, current Deputy Attorney General, Dr. Justice Rimside, also joining this conversation. Justice, Doctor, you're welcome to the program. Good afternoon.
Yeah, good afternoon, my
right. So this developing story, if you like, is being given a lot of interpretations. I'm talking about the suspension. And even before the suspension statement came, folks on the political divide, they've shared their own perspective on this matter. For the MPP, this is a political witch hunt. For some in the NDC, the Chief Justice must simply go. I've heard comments from the Deputy General Secretary and even the Chairman of the NDC. The government statement quotes relevant provisions in the Constitution and says that this is simply what the president is following. As you walk through the political commentary and what the law says, what exactly is happening, Justice?
Thank you very much. I think, Professor Apiajetia said, we will not get any benefit if we politicize this rather technical and legal issue. So it shouldn't be politicized at all. And secondly, I think I saw a poll conducted by the gentleman who...
Info Analytics.
Exactly. And it shows that a majority of, Ghanaians are also calling for removal. But at this stage, we are not even sure whether the allegations are proven. And I'm sure you are aware that finding that a case exists to be answered, that is a prima facie case that is laid out, does not necessarily mean that the Chief Justice is guilty of the allegations. It only means that the allegations are not frivolous. And so at this point, I think what is happening is a very technical issue, which also is specifically prescribed and dictated by the Constitution. So I would suggest, and I will plead with everyone to be very, to desist from politicization. And I've already heard some commentaries of, especially the former, my very good friend. He said the Council of State has poisoned something. And at the same time, he also indicated that he is not aware of the content of the petition. So then I was asking myself, unless he has another reason, but are analyzing what he has said, it is internally contradictory. If you have not seen the petition and the content, which I have not seen, and he has also not seen, it would be very unfair to, as a matter of fact, describe persons who have, Council of State. I think we all know the composition of the Council of State. To suggest that they have poisoned, the system with a decision of merely saying that it's a case to be answered. I think that is unfortunate, and I wouldn't be in support of that kind of assertion at this time. Of course, there will be a time where the entire petition or the outcome, there will be a formal decision from the committee, and the committee will make a finding. And if the committee makes a finding that the Chief Justice is unrated, or that the Chief Justice is guilty of the outcome of the allegation, that is where we can say we can pass, judgment. Right. So I would not be in a hurry to politicize or to describe anything that anyone has done at this point. But let's hope that at least so far we have seen that the processes have been complied with, and there's more steps ahead of us. So we should be watchful of those steps. If the process reaches the steps that have been provided by the Constitution, of course, we will be the first people to step and say that no, this is unconstitutional. But for now, I think the processes have been complied with so far.
Just a second for me, Mr. Chuanyabua, the former Attorney General, the matters that are in courts, and one aspect of it, the outcome will determine how these matters are handled in the future. But I just want to find out, the former Attorney General wanted the president to hold onto this matter until the court determines the cases before them. Now, clearly, that advice did not get to the ears of the president. You say that the composition, you have absolute faith in the integrity of the 5-member committee, that they will do an impartial job and come to a conclusion that best fits the complaints against the Chief Justice.
Well, I have seen the composition of the committee, and it complies strictly with the requirements of the Constitution. It says 2 justices of the Supreme Court, and then after that, then ordinary citizens, 3 of them. And I think the ordinary citizens, we have a major from the army, we have a professor from the university, and then we have a well-known retired, auditor general. So, these people on the face of it are people with sufficient experience to look at what is, to look at the petition, which, in any case, we don't know the content of this petition. So, I believe that the president, in the Council of State, considered the allegation and in deciding who to put in place. Now, as to whether the president would suspend or not suspend the Chief Justice, yes, of course, the former Attorney General is right that the suspension is not automatic upon, but there are good reasons why I believe the suspension may be necessary. So, for example, if the particulars of the allegation are essential in coming to the conclusion that the Chief Justice may be suspended. But generally, when things of this nature happen, 2 things come. You need to consider 2 things: the possibility of giving the Chief Justice or the accused person in this case. Let me use the word loosely. Right. An opportunity to defend, to prepare and defend him or herself is very important. Being administrative head of the judiciary is a very huge responsibility. Right. You are having meetings almost all the time. You are reviewing documents. You are taking very important decisions. Apart from that, you are also a judge of a justice of the Supreme Court, hearing cases and deciding cases that affect people's liberty, property, life, and all. And at the same time, you being a subject matter of 3 petitions, not 1, not 2, 3 petitions, you really need a lot of time to prepare to explain yourself. And I think that the suspension may be necessary when considering the number of petitions and the issues that I believe were raised. All right. The suspension may be necessary, even in the interest of the Chief Justice herself, to be able to prepare and offer a defense to the allegation. So that is one aspect. Secondly, it could be, if you are the administrative head of an institution, depending on the nature of the allegation, one of the things that the former Deputy Attorney General knows, my very good friend knows very well, and even which most of us know, is that inquiries or investigations could be interfered with. And it is the same spirit that we often call on public servants who are implicated in one thing or the other to step aside for investigations to go on. So depending on the nature of the allegation, it may be necessary that to avoid interferences in the process, especially those allegations, if indeed they are about the administrative functions of the Chief Justice, then the chances that being the Chief Administrator of the Judiciary and also being someone who has been accused life and all that stuff, and at the same time you being a subject matter. So what I'm saying is that these are some of the considerations that may be had in determining whether to suspend the Chief Justice or not. So yes, it is not automatic, but considering that I personally think 21, what do we call it, 3 different petitions of allegations that I believe the Chief Justice will need even a lot of time to
repair. Doctor, kindly hold it for me. Are you still there?
My brother.
Yes, I tried to get your attention earlier on, but you didn't respond. So let me, you've heard your colleague now occupying your office. Now I asked whether, looking at the composition of the membership, Justice Gabriel Pwanwam, Justice Samuel Kwame Adebu Siedu, Daniel Yaudemalevo, Major Flora Bazanura Dalugu from the Ghana Armed Forces, Professor James Sefa Disa, Associate Professor, University of Ghana. Are you absolutely, do you have confidence that they will live up to expectation in terms of upholding their own integrity and professional ethics in delving into this particular matter?
Nelson, from the list of 5, I know 3. There's Waman, there's Adibo, and then Domlebo.
Right.
I have no cause to say that we know discharge their duty in accordance with, but they have a very big burden to carry. The destiny of the judiciary in Ghana now in their hands. History, whether makes them in a good way, in a bad way, it's a very heavy burden. I wish them well. I know that the CJ will also appear before the committee and defend herself properly. And to my brother, I think he made reference to global info and DRS. If we go by that, meaning that now Ghanaian people think that the CJ must go, then why they need for this committee to be set up? So he made reference. These are some of the things that's what we're saying, that we should not be going along that line. Otherwise, the poison up your point, you cannot drink from the stream of the judiciary. We may be sowing some seeds that today may be comfortable to us, but in the future we'll come back to regret sadly. And that's my worry as a lawyer. It matters not who occupies it of the judiciary. That's earlier on. My intention is to ensure that we protect the justice with all our strength. Unless, of course, we have very serious issues that we are running over. But we are watching the space. Some of us are watching the space. And I just pray and hope that the proceedings will be fair. As no doubt it will be fair. But politicians are taking stage in this kind of proceedings. My brother, Dr. Swimsai, may say, we take the process out. But as you said, we fed people from the ruling government, whether by their social media posts or by their public commentary, always say that CJ must go. And so from that angle, you cannot say you are taking politics out of the whole equation. But I don't want politics to be part of this system because my friend, Deputy AG, may be the CJ in the future. Notwithstanding the fact that he's holding the position of a Deputy AG in the ruling government, in the political party. So we have instances in Ghana where former AGs and DAGs have been part of the Supreme Court. And so when you're discussing this issue, I agree that we must take away that political hat. But unfortunately, in this particular instance, it was started from that angle. And so in discussing it, you can't discount that fact out of it. If had my way, this matter would have been handled in a way where the political class would have stayed out of it for matters to be determined on its merits. But unfortunately, the whole whole system has been messed up, and politicians have taken interest in the matter and have taken position. And so, as a fellow of the system, I'm waiting to see how it goes.
But then on this matter, if I can just read your mind, perhaps you can tell us the thinking of Godfred Yeboah-Damen when he demanded that President Mahama should hold on with any action until the final determination of the cases that are before the court. Why did he ask for that?
I do not want to speak for my former boss for now. As the lawyer in the case, he made a statement. The current AG also responded. As to whether he has other legal cases that he want to trigger it, I don't want to preempt it or comment on it, my brother. So I just want to leave it now. But I think the former AG made it clear. The current AG also responded in that direction. The decision has been taken as to what is supposed to be done by whether the former AG or whichever party is in court. I don't want to touch it.
All right.
For now.
Doc, before I go to Professor Apiaje, Doc, so this matter, when do you expect it to end? I mean, the Constitution doesn't provide timelines, but any idea when this should be over so that, I mean, we can have some normalcy within the judiciary?
Before I answer that question, I think there was a bit of confusion from my very good friend, the former Deputy AG, when he mentioned the info analytics. Info analytics did not conduct the research before the process started. I think the process started, and then he tried to find out what people think about the idea of removing a Chief Justice. But unfortunately, my friend was interpreting it as if it is info analytics that came to say that people want the CJ to go, and then the process started based on the info analytics, So to correct that point of view, the info analytics is not directing that the process should begin or continue. It is only indicating what people think of a process which has already, commenced.
Right.
Now, in terms of the timelines, there's no specific timeline, but the general understanding by legal, what lawyers call reasonable, it means that we should look at the extent of the allegations, and also the number of witnesses that may be required, the volume of documents that may be analyzed, and all the things that to come to. But it shouldn't be a long process. And I think there's a general idea of how long someone may act in a position.
Right.
So, for example, we know in the public service, there's a general rule that you shouldn't act beyond a certain number of months. I believe that if we go by that, we should be able to come to the conclusion not beyond what is usually considered reasonable for acting, which is, I think, 6 months or so. But of course, it could be shorter, depending on the nature of the allegation, the number of witnesses, even the nature of the defense that the Chief Justice will mount. These are all factors that are going to determine what is reasonable. So, but I believe that it's a governance issue, and we cannot live in a limbo for long. So we should be expecting this to end within a reasonable time.
Okay, and then the issue of who now acts in the absence of Madam Tokono.
Yeah, so by law and practice, usually when the Chief Justice is absent, just as when the President is absent, the Vice President acts, the Chief Justice, when he or she is absent or is unable to perform the functions of the office, I think the most senior of the Justice of the Supreme Court takes over and acts. And I think that is what should be the case. It doesn't even have to take the President to do that. If the President directs that to be done, that may be, in a way, though maybe confirming what the position of the law is, but it can also make it as if the President is the one now, selecting. But we all know, every lawyer knows, the automatic thing that happens is that the most senior of the Justice of the Supreme Court assumes the acting position. And I think if we look at the court and we find out who the most senior of the justices, that person automatically takes over the administrative and the judicial as the administrative and the judicial head of the Supreme Court and the entire judiciary, pending a formal appointment. And the formal appointment is also dependent on the outcome of the petition. So,
right.
For example, if the committee finds out that the Chief Justice is exonerated and has not committed anything, or that the grounds have not been properly, proven, the Chief Justice resumes office and continues to work as a Chief Justice. And then let me also address a bit of point that my friend again raised when he was giving his comment concerning acting position and what has been lost when the person is not acting. I mean, when a new person is acting. I think the general understanding of public office is that it's not a personal, you can't, it's not anyone who is qualified by the eligibility criteria and has probably been properly been empowered and appointed can perform the function. And so there's no personal property in that regard where say that a personal right has been taken away just because someone has acted, instead of the substantive. I think acting is a normal part of the work we do every day as public officials.
All right. And so in this case, the president has no hand in who acts?
No, absolutely no hand. The Constitution doesn't give him any role to play in that, and he has no hand in determining who acts.
All right. Dr. Justice Frimsai, thank you so much for spending some time with us on this matter. Thank you so much for your time this afternoon. I appreciate your contribution. But let me allow final thought from Mr. Alfred Chanyaba before I go to Prof to wrap it up for us. So, Mr. Chanyaba, any final thoughts on this matter before I let you go?
Is that as a nation, we need to tread cautiously. We need to be very careful in the decisions that we take. The committee that has been appointed to hear this matter also has an onerous responsibility with regard to the future of the judiciary of Ghana, and I wish them well.
Thank you so much, Mr. Alfred Chanyaba. He's a former deputy, former Attorney General. We will look at the political angle to this matter. We'll also be sharing with you your comments on this particular matter pretty shortly when we have that. But Prof, so what do we expect of the CJ? Should he go with lawyers, evidence that I'm sure by now she's aware of the charges against her? How do you expect her to approach her former hearing?
To comment on some of the comments made by Dr. Semsai and Mr. Chanyaba, I think the global analytics argument that Dr. Semsai is making, I don't go with him. Because when you're talking about some particular issues like the removal of the Chief Justice, it's quite technical. So I'm not sure, with all due respect, that ordinary persons may understand what the issue is all about. So that's why in some situations we do we map the particular people who have knowledge and experience in that subject to be interviewed and to solicit their opinions. Otherwise, we may be going the way of the United States system where judges are voted for into office. I don't think that is within the context of doing a survey on it to determine if people want a Chief Justice to go or not.
I mean, more importantly, when nobody is privy to the charges against the CJ. So sometimes you wonder the kind of question that was put to the respondents. That's
right, yeah. And number two, both sides are politicizing the issue. And so, as Mr. Chanyaba rightly said, we need to exercise caution. But from some of his talks, I can also see the political tone in that. So I think it's very important both sides exercise caution. This is not a political issue. It's a technical issue. It's for the judiciary, and the judiciary forms a very important buffer against overreach by the executive as well as by parliament. So we should tread cautiously. And we also need to note that the Constitution as it is, the processes for the removal of the Chief Justice is very loose. That is why, if you look at the deliberations at the Constitution Review Commission, there have been recommendations for ways to tighten the process so that it wouldn't be politicized or used against a particular Chief Justice.
And because you just touched on the fact that we are seeking to review our Constitution, should we have a situation where perhaps the charges are also known to the public? In this case, I mean, he's serving he's serving the public. The public is not aware the reason why she's facing a potential removal.
It's possible, but again, it's talking about the technicality of such issues. Probably it wouldn't be in the best interest of the public to know. And then the last point is that the suspension that the president has undertaken is also, the Constitution also says that he may review it and even cancel it. So we never know what may happen tomorrow. The president can decide that the process up to where it has gone to, the CJ can resume her position. So we should wait and see on how that issue may also pan out. As to whether the Chief Justice, how she will approach the matter, is entirely within her discretion. And I'm sure, having already asked for her side of the story to be told before the Council of State, she will definitely arm herself to defend herself before the committee. And I wish her the best in this particular stage of the proceedings that have been brought against her.
Professor Kojo Apiajetua is with the University of Ghana Law Faculty. Well, soon we'll look at the political aspects of this matter. Richard Ahiagba is Director of Communications with the MPP, and he's already joined us. But before I bring him home, you have also been talking about this matter on X Spaces, on Facebook, on YouTube, and I want to bring you some of the comments that we have on our social media handles. Everybody, depending on where they stand, is talking one way or the other. So Osajifo Oliver Bakavomawo, he talks about know your Supreme Court judges, and he says shalom, and he lists names of the current Supreme Court judges in terms of seniority, in terms of when that person was appointed, and all that. I mean, giving an indication as what may happen tomorrow. There's also Roxanne Nelson Dafiamopo, is the majority chief whip, and he says due process of law, and he comes with the statement issued by the presidency. There is also Rachel Delaska. He also talks about the fact the president has exercised the powers under the Constitution regarding this particular matter. He says, wait to see how this matter would end. So there's been flurry of comments on this particular matter on social media. And so those are some you have. Somebody says she must sit aside for investigation of the person. That has already been done. She's suspended pending the determination of the case. This former, so Kimati says they sow the wind and reap the windmill. Mohammed also says, somebody says good news. Bismarck Mensah says, what legal advice did the MPP lawyers give to the former president about Charlotte said removal? Adam says, why is the MPP defending the removal of the Chief Justice and not her personal lawyers? And then General Nkuna says, predicting correctly doesn't make one. And if, so you sack her today, the next one will be sacked by the next government. That's the way, no more separation of powers. Muhammad Ali. And so are the comments on social media. But this is the breaking story this afternoon. If you just tune in to join us, this is the pause. President Mahama suspends Chief Justice after setting up a 5-member committee to probe the petition against her. So how is the MPP reading into this? Richard Ahiagba is Director of Communications with the opposition MPP. Mr. Ahiagba, you're welcome to the program. So the suspension is now official. What's your first reaction to this development? We'll try and get his attention. Mr. Richard Ahiagba, Director of Communication with the MPP. If you are on, if you can unmute for me so we can hear you loud and clear on the show. This is the pause. Your comments are against welcome. So, Mr. Ahiagba, the MPP, I mean, the suspension of the Chief Justice is now official, and I'm wondering your first reaction to this development. We don't seem to have Mr. Ahiagba's attention at this very moment. Mr. Ahiagba, can you hear me? And if you can unmute for me. We'll rectify the technical issue here and bring him on. But let's take a short break here on the pulse and return to hear the MPP's position on this matter. All right, so this is a pause here on Joy News, and this is the breaking news this afternoon. President John Mahama has, in accordance with Article 1466 of the Constitution, in consultation with the Council of State, determined that a prima facie case has been established in respect of 3 petitions against the Chief Justice, Her Lady Chief Justice Gertrude Araba Isaba Tokonum. Now, the President has consequently established a committee in compliance with Article 1466 of the 1992 Constitution, and in consultation with the Council of State, the following composition to inquire into the petition which have been referred to them. Now, the chairperson of this committee is Justice Gabriel Scott Pamwan, Justice of the Supreme Court of Ghana, Justice Samuel Kwamina Adibu Asiedu is also a Justice of the Supreme Court of Ghana. There's also Daniel Yadomalevo, former Auditor General of the Republic of Ghana, Major Flora Bawanura Dalugu from the Ghana Armed Forces, and finally, Professor James Sefa Jisap, Associate Professor, University of Ghana. Pursuant to Article 1460 of the 1992 Constitution, in accordance with the advice of the Council of State, the President has, by a warrant, suspended the Chief Justice with immediate effect pending the outcome of the committee's proceeding. This is signed by Felix Pachi Ofosu. So this is the breaking story this afternoon. You've heard the government spokesperson defend the statement. We've heard the Deputy Attorney General and Minister for Justice, Justice Rimsai. You've also heard the comments of former Deputy Attorney General Alfred Chuan-Yeboah and, of course, Professor Kojo Apiajechuan of the law faculty of the University of Ghana. But there's also the political angle to this development story, and that's the reason why we brought in Richard Anyagba, the Director of Communications with the MPP. Mr. Anyagba, good to have a perfect connection to you. So first, your reaction to this latest development on the CJ's case.
Thank you very much, Elton, and good afternoon to your viewers. Elton, I've had a chance to listen to the Deputy Attorney General, my brother, Justice Rimsai. I think that Ghana, we are at crossroads with the steps that the NDC government is taking to undo our democracy. And I think that this calls for sober reflection, and I couldn't agree more with the former Deputy Attorney General, Chuan-Yeboah, when he says that we should proceed with caution. I've heard the Deputy Attorney General, Justice Rimsai, say that this is technical. And I disagree with him very, very strongly. This is not technical. The process may be technical, but the motive is political. The politics of it is that they want to remove the Chief Justice to pave the way to aim at the Electoral Commission. And I think that that is very, very egregious and most unfortunate for the NDC to be doing that. Somehow, the reset they promise is a reset that may have serious and grave implications for our democracy. You know, the president received the petition, I think about 3 of them also on this occasion that I have seen, for the removal of the Electoral Commission chair. That petition has been with the president since January.
Right.
The president has not referred that to the CJ. The question is why? Why would he not? Because essentially, per the Constitution, the president is but a conveyor belt. So, having received that petition against the Electoral Commissioners, why hasn't it referred them? Because, my view, because the president thinks and knows that how flimsy, if you have read those petitions, the flimsy excuses in them will not be entertained by the Chief Justice, this Chief Justice. So a way to do it is to take away this CJ and then bring a CJ that will be more agreeable, that will be more pliant, that they can use to remove the EC.
But can the same thing be said about the MPP when you took similar steps to remove Charlotte Osei?
But that does not compare in this matter. Now, I can agree with you that the removal of Charlotte Osei, perhaps, with what it looks like now and the history of it, sets a certain precedent that another person may look upon to remove them. But the facts must align. What happened in the Charlotte Osei case, not to justify anything, but I'm saying that you have a plausible basis to rationalize what happened then, vis-a-vis what is happening now, right? Where there were conversations back and forth amongst the people at the EC themselves, the EC, and eventually the ones that got removed. It is their internal dispute that led to that. The current situation is not like that. The CJ, which is now, for me, the casualty to achieve this EC removal thing, in my view, is very, very dangerous for the democracy that we have accepted in this Fourth Republic. Because the judiciary is an effective check on the executive, such that we, the citizens who must hold the government accountable, the judiciary actually provides us that recourse to be able to hold the government accountable. So today, in this speech that we're having, this political conversation we're having, if the government, the executive decides to hound me, I find solace in the judiciary.
Right.
So that they will be able to tell the government, no, the setup of this democracy allows for citizens to call you to account, to hold you to account, and that the Constitution provides for free speech and expression. So therefore, you cannot hound Richard. You cannot hound that person. You can't do that. If quite simply what they're doing is political speech, you can't do that. And if you aim at that arm of government, take it away. I am telling you that we are setting ourselves up for a very bad governance in the future. Now, everything is fair deal. Anybody tomorrow can aim at the CJ on account of this. So I won't be surprised if tomorrow a president is over and say, look, I'm going to clean the slate. Where is the CJ? Take her out. Just bring some flimsy petitions against her, set up a convenient committee of people who can do that, get state council of state to find reason why you should do that. You can cook all these things, my brother.
Are you suggesting that
we must approach without fear or favor, without mincing words, to tell this government that what it's doing is dangerous and ought not to be encouraged?
But again, I mean, look at the caliber of individuals that have been constituted to look into the 3 petitions. Me and you, we don't know the content, so we can only speculate. You don't trust in their integrity to do a fair job and to establish her innocence if that should be so, and to also punish her if she's gone contrary to the oath she took upon assumption of office as CJ.
The president himself took oath to protect to do good to all manner of people in this country. His first action, one of his first actions at the Jubilee House, was to remove people who were legitimately employed under the Constitution by a constitutionally elected president of the state. He went against the oath. The president went against his oath. What are they talking about? The first problem in this CJ's matter is the secrecy that is shrouded, the whole thing is shrouded in. I disagree totally that in a democracy where the people are the sovereign, the people are the ones on whose behalf the agent, the government is working, are excluded from this material case where we don't know what are the facts against the Chief Justice. But what I can tell you is that, Elton, I think that we as a people, because of the importance, because of the high threshold that we must hold in terms of dealing with our democracy to strengthen it rather than weaken it, it should be very clear to us that if a Chief Justice is set up like this to be removed, then whatever the cause is, short of you reading it on paper in the form of a petition against her, it should be very manifest. You and I should have evidence on that to see that as for the thing the Chief Justice has done, it merits a removal. People should not go and formulate some rather remote ideas, and that constitutes political motive to remove an individual, right? Some office, whose office is very material to the survival of our democracy.
Right.
Look, this is not about the Chief Justice person. It's about the institution. It's about the weakening of the institution. It's about the undermining of the institution that has consequence far into the future. So this is not a joke matter. So where the Deputy Attorney General is saying that this is technical, it is not for them to tell us that. It is our democracy. How people fought for us to have a democracy today, and for them, for their convenient political motive to set up this thing as though that we should believe in a committee that is set.
Just a quick question.
We cannot hang our hopes on a committee. This is the people's democracy. It's not a democracy for 5 people.
Richard,
the NDC, His Excellency John Dramani Mahama, I have confidence in him that he's in search of legacy. But what he is doing is going to hamper his legacy, because he is setting a very dangerous precedent. Whereupon a president in the future...
Allow me just a few minutes, and I'll also bring in Dr. Rashid Tanko, because...
Let me just conclude for you.
No, I just want to ask this question. I mean, now that you've raised issues about the precedent that this may be setting, are you suggesting that in the event that there is a change of government in the future, whoever will be CJ then may be taken to similar exercise?
It will be fair game. It will be something that has been done before, so anybody doing it again will not be new. Ghanaians perhaps may have come to accept it, that is done before, the justification will be there for it, but inherently, what you are doing is weakening our democracy. And so you find some lunatic, and I use that lunatic intentionally, who then will say that, scratch all these things. Let's go back to a place where there is a strong man in charge of the state. Then we will lose this Fourth Republic also because of this rather excessive political decisions that have been made. We know that, that when the NDC was in opposition, they had a thing for the judiciary. Felix Kwatio had actually is on record to have said that the judiciary has not been fair to NDC. But you see, it's not about being fair to NDC or fair to MPP. It's about what case you have, for which reason you deserve fairness, because the law must be applied fairly according to its letter and spirit. So if NDC have been sending cases to court and they are losing, it is not the doing of the judiciary. It cannot be. All right, unless there's demonstrable evidence, which in law can be established, then we can look at the dissent in most of the cases to see where any law has been breached in favor of one against the NDC. But what I am telling you is that the NDC took aim coming into office. The so-called reset is a very dangerous thing they have said, and they are doing. They're acting on it, and I think that our democracy is under siege because of it.
Ms. Anyaba, is the MPP warning whoever may succeed Justice Tokonu in the event that the petitioners are successful in removing her? Is the MPP warning whoever will take over that you should be on the lookout? Is that what you're talking about? All right. Dr. Rashid Tanko, your reaction to what that is happening?
Afternoon to you and your cherished viewers. Let me put it on record. In fact, the hypocrisy of MPP is legendary. They are damn hypocrites. Let me describe them this way. We are using the same 1992 Constitution. We are not using 1969 Constitution. The Constitution we are using currently is a 1992 Constitution. And they must come to reality that there's a change of government. And we are just going through the constitutional procedure in trying to unravel whether there is a case for him or there's a case for Madam or there's no case for her. And the Council of State, they have established a prima facie case against her. If they have established this prima facie case, of course, which they agree, they know, the MPP, they are very much, I'm surprised they are defending her as if she's a woman organizer of MPP. For the last time I checked, I don't believe Madame Tokono was a woman organizer of MPP. So they have no business in coming in strongly to try to defend her as if she's one of them. Are they telling us she's one of them? If that is what Richard wants us to know, they should let us know. But in any case, when I describe them as hypocrites, when they were removing Charlotte Osei, Didn't they know that they were setting a dangerous precedent for the constitutional bodies in Ghana? Were we not in this country? Where was Richard and his likes? Is it the first time they have removed a constitutionally independent body, head of such an institution? You bundled out Charlotte with her deputies. You didn't even with a Trump charges against them. You used procurement cases, that procurement breaches. That was what you used, the petitioners route. You hurriedly put the teams together and got them out. You did this during your campaign in 2016. You were all over the platform saying that you remove her when you come to office. We have records. We can play it for them to listen.
Is that the same thing?
And true, when you came to office in 2016, you went ahead and removed her. Has any NDC member stood on any of the campaign platform and stated that we're coming to remove the Chief Justice? They should point us one, where senior members of the party stood on the campaign platform and indicated that if Ghanaians give us the mandate, we're coming to remove Madam Tokono. Nobody made such a statement.
But few weeks ago, we heard your Deputy General Secretary make the point clearly that the Chief Justice will be gone. Mustafa Bande for that matter.
What he was trying to say was that looking at the exigencies of the situation as we find ourselves, it will not be in the interest of judiciary of this country for her to continue to be in office. You yourself, you know it. You, the media, you are very much aware. The former National Security Minister, what did he say? Didn't he say that the judiciary should look into themselves very well? The kind of ruling they were given at the Supreme Court was posing security threat to the country. Kandapa said it. He sat on national security as a minister, and he saw the kind of ruling that was going on. And it was very dangerous to the democracy of this country. Based on that, he gave them this warning, but they wouldn't listen. But because some of them were behaving as if they were more than Nanado, that was the kind of behavior they were putting out there. They will sit at the panel and talk as if they were MPP apparatchiks or they were MPP serial callers. You remember the last episode, and the issue of Parliament and the Afenyo Maki.
Right.
The issue. Do you see what she was doing on the bed? You heard what she was talking. Had the authority had to call her to order. She was talking as if she is the woman organizer of MPP. And I'm saying that in order to sanctify the judiciary and bring them upstream, we must do the rightful. And I congratulate His Excellency John Dramani Mahama. In fact, as a party, the NDC, we are very much happy.
The NDC is happy about this?
Elated with the decision to suspend her. Because we want to bring back the glory of the judiciary. They must be respected. And their decisions will be respected henceforth.
And you're saying
not
that
kind of
the NDC
decisions they will be given, and all along everybody is questioning the decisions.
So, Dr. Tanko, the NDC is in favor of the removal of the Chief Justice. Is that what you're saying?
I am saying the NDC is happy with the suspension. The president has suspended her, and I'm saying that we are happy with it. We want the right process to follow. The president has not removed her yet. The president just has a step aside. I've set a committee to investigate. Why is the MPP crying before her? Why? Why are they so much interested in this matter? I'll continue to ask them. Is Madam Tokono the woman organizer of MPP? What is their problem?
All right.
We are going through a process. The Constitution says the president must set up a 5-man committee to investigate. The president has done that. They haven't established prima facie case against her. The committee has been set. And then they are on their way. Don't be surprised they will hold a press conference. Now, press conference is what they eat and drink and sleep. They will go about holding press conference, wasting everybody's time.
Dr. Tanko,
look, we are here to govern.
Right.
And we are in the process of making sure that Ghanaians benefit the fruit of their labor. And we won't allow anybody to stand on their way. Therefore, she should go and face the committee and defend herself.
I thank you very much for your time this afternoon so that you can continue with your work. Let me end with you, Mr. Wechinahiagwa. I asked early on whether the MPP is sending a warning to whoever may be chosen to succeed Madam Tokono in the event that the petitioners are successful in getting her removed as CJ. Is the MPP warning that whoever takes over from her should be on the lookout?
I tell you that that is the chaos in which our democracy is being thrown into by this government. You see, I'm listening to my brother Tanko, and I am scandalized. The arrogance with which he's speaking, the arrogance, they've forgotten that they are in power. Be humbled in a way. I think that what they are doing, is going to unravel our democracy in a very poor way.
Right.
They must think about it. Look, the process is one thing, and the process is the matter. What starts this is not the process. The process exists. We all know. But what triggers the process is the political motive. And that's what we're saying, that their motive is devious. Their motive is unhelpful. Their motive is undemocratic. It's bad in its sense. To say that the Kandapa at one point in time mentioned about the judiciary being balanced, the Kandapa mentioned that when Madam Getu Tokono was the Chief Justice. If there's the argument they are making, Kandapa said that Madam Tokono was not there as the Chief Justice. And you see, so if they are holding this argument, is it to say that after they remove Madam Gertrude as Chief Justice, they won't replace her with another Chief Justice? Because if the argument that the Justice is being biased, and so that Chief Justice being biased in their own mind against them, so they will bring a CJ now who will be biased towards them, and everybody should sit and watch it. Now, if that Chief Justice comes and he or she is demonstrably biased to the NDC, what do you expect another government, it's not an NDC government, to do? Because the precedent is there already. So this lazy and rather arrogant posturing of the NDC is one thing you must call out, and you in the media must not fear. Because what we are talking about is the longest democracy in our republic's life. Right. The fourth of all. Okay. It's the longest stable democracy we've ever had. And if anybody, for any reason, parochial interest, to want to undermine that and send us back, look, you know that it is not bridging. There's turmoil all over the place. There's turmoil. And it's not in this country we are immune from that reversal. We're not immune. You saw what happened at the inaugural ceremony of the president, His Excellency John Dramani Mahama. When people were applauding a coup d'etat person who is governing Burkina Faso, a dictator, we are applauding that. The tendency is there. It's something we're immune. So when people begin to act in this manner, we must call it out. We like our democracy. I applaud it.
We'll leave it here for now.
Our goal is to perfect it, to make it better, to make it serve the needs of the people. But what the NDC is doing, and I totally disagree with
Madam Tokono is not a woman organizer of MPP. You have no problem with that. Leave it out. That's not your cup of tea. Let her handle her own cross.
Richard, are you responding to him?
No, I'm not sure what you said, but the point is
they
that
are talking as if Madam Tokono is the woman organizer of MPP.
He needs to focus
not the woman organizer of MPP. Why are you worried?
Madam, of course, we're not worried. We're not worried for Madam Gertrude. We're worried for our democracy. You should listen very closely. You should listen closely. We're not talking about the interest of here. We're talking about the interest of Ghana. We're talking about the future of democracy in our country. You guys don't believe in democracy as much. This action is unwarranted. And I tell you what, I told you, even you are removing the CJ, it is to aim at the DC. The next thing you are going to do after removing the CJ will be to go and remove the EC people. That's what you guys are doing. And I'm saying that that's detrimental to our democracy. You have no right to do that. The Ghanaian people haven't voted for you.
So we're wrapping up here.
It is the democracy that is about in the first place. Why do you go and destroy it?
We are wrapping up here. Dr. Tanko, just 30 seconds before we go. Thank you very much, Richard Anglaba, for your time. Dr. Tanko, just 30 seconds and we go.
Very well. I am saying that we are using the 1992 Constitution. We are not using the 1969, I repeat, Richard should know that Madame Tukono came to office through the 1992 Constitution. And the Constitution made it very clear as to how a matter of this, if somebody petitioned the president, the procedure to use. Has the president breached any of the procedure? No. The president has given her the opportunity to respond. She responded. Council of State, they have look at her response. The president haven't satisfied herself with the Council of State that she has a case to answer. That's the prima facie case. This one, even my primary school law, I know that when they say prima facie case against you, you mean you have a case to answer.
Right.
So she has a case. A committee has been set, 5-man committee to deal with the matter. And MPP is already in the market crying. When has Madame Tukono become a woman organizer of MPP?
All right.
Are they telling us that something that we don't know?
This is a matter.
They are the very people who ran away from the Constitution. 1992, they didn't participate in the writing of the Constitution. Now you want to teach us how the Constitution was written and how we are handling the Constitution. Were they part of it?
All right, thank you so much.
People who were part of the writing of the Constitution, they are still alive. They are there and they know why they put those clauses in there. Richard should go and learn the Constitution very well and stop wasting everybody's ears.
I thank you very much, Dr. Tanko. Thank you so much. Also, thank you very much. Richard Anyagba is the Director of Communication with the MPP. This is a matter that is developing, and you've not heard the last of it because we've got more angles to cover in subsequent bulletins. But let's take a short break here on the pause and return and deal with illegal mining. Welcome back, and of course, we've got some few minutes to spare. This afternoon, the Akonta Mining Company Limited heads to court to challenge the government's decision to revoke its mining license over allegations of illegal mining. On Monday, Lands and Natural Resources Minister Emmanuel Amokofuwa directed the Minerals Commission to terminate all licenses held by the company owned by the MPP Ashanti Regional Chairman Bernard Nkibuasi, also known as Chairman Wontumi, citing alleged involvement in illegal mining activities. But Akonta Mining has strongly pushed back, calling the minister's action politically motivated. We'll hear from the company shortly, but first, here's what the minister had to say at the news conference yesterday.
It has not only trespassed into protected reserves, but has become a criminal syndicate, selling assets of the Aboye Forest Reserve to illegal miners for a staggering 300,000 Ghana cedi per concession. One representative of Akonta Mining, is the liaison of these dealings. He serves as the gatekeeper, negotiating fees and granting illegal access. The concessions are then subleased to individuals like one Mr. Henry and another individual identified as Shak, who are to oversee the devastation of the Aboye Forest Reserve in the Tano River. As part of the agreement between Akonta Mining and the illegal miners, a weekly royalties of 250 grams of gold are to be paid to the company, lining the pockets of Akonta's collaborators. Another breakthrough revelation is that this criminal enterprise thrives because of the active collusion and connivance of some forestry officers and some security personnel. Here is how it works. Part of the 300,000 Ghana cedi fees goes to the Akonta Mining, a portion goes to Sahari and Shak and their cohorts, and another portion goes to the forestry and security officials, according to investigators. These officers take a cut as a service charge in exchange for protection and tip-offs in the event of an impending raid. In light of the overwhelming evidence, I have authorized the Minerals Commission to immediately take steps to revoke the lease of Akonta Mining with immediate effect. I've directed the Forestry Commission officials connected to these illegalities be immediately interdicted pending further investigations and prosecution. Security agencies have been notified to investigate security officers who have had dealings with Akonta Mining in this particular forest reserve.
Well, let's get some answers to this. Ken Asigbe is the convener for the Media Coalition Against Illegal Mining. Also is private legal practitioner and former member of parliament, Andy Apiakubi. First, let me start with you, Mr. Asigbe. You called for it. You demanded it. Now, have you gotten what you asked for, and are you happy with the decision taken by the minister? If you can unmute for me, sir.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you, sir.
Yes, I'm saying, so thank you very much. And again, it was good to hear the minister speak about Akonta Mines. As you know yourself, more than 2 years ago, we petitioned the then president, we petitioned the attorney general, we petitioned the IGP. We followed up with various, since the case was handed over to the director general of CID. There was ample evidence from the work that was done by Erastus and your media house, and then including the points made by the Minister for Lands and Natural Resources about the fact that Akonta Mining, was engaged in an illegality working in the Tanonimere Forest Reserve. The Minerals Commission, which is the regulator of the sector, came in to confirm that. There were incidents that the police got involved, altercations between the Akonta Mining people and the people of Samraboy. There were incidents of moving equipment from the forest reserve. So there was a lot of evidence of the fact that Akonta Mining was involved in an illegality. Unfortunately, when I met the president in Kufuridia, the former president, then in Kufuridia, and asked him about the issues around Akonta Mining, what he said to me was that Akonta Mining was not involved in Galamsey as we speak.
Right.
The question I asked the president had nothing to do with when we were speaking. It had all to do with what his minister and his regulators had spoken about. And so I am gratified that we're beginning to see this situation unravel. I believe that Akonta Mining's license should have been revoked when we raised those petitions. And I believe that there should have been prosecution of Akonta Mining now. So I'm happy that the minister has referred the case to the Attorney General. We'll be expecting that the Attorney General will do the necessary investigations and be able to process the directors of Akonta Mining, all the executives who would have been involved in this illegality from what happened prior to this particular one. And I would also urge the Minister for Lands and Natural Resources that he should also refer the matter to the OSP. Once he had said that there was some corrupt activities involving some forestry commission and mining inspectorate people, and some monies would have changed hands. That is a corruption issue or a corruption-related issue, and the OSP has the mandate to be able to also look into that. So he should refer that to that so that we deal with this thing conclusively.
All right. Now let me bring in Mr. Andy Apiakubi, private legal practitioner, former member of parliament. And Honorable, good afternoon and welcome. You've heard the government position on this.
Good afternoon, my brother. Good afternoon.
Great. And you've also heard Dr. Ken Asigbe on his own position on Akonta Mining. First, your reaction.
I have heard some effusions from him. And unfortunately, he is speaking as if he has evidence to support the position he's taking. I want to believe that for now, he would have qualified his positions as allegations, but he seems to want to let the public know that he can defend that position and that he is given evidence. My client, Akonta Mining Company Limited, is a legitimate entity into mining, and they hold concessions granted by the Minerals Commission. My instruction is that nobody from Akonta Mining has entered any forest in Ghana, and that Akonta Mining has not mandated anybody to ask for or on its behalf in any forest area in Ghana. I'm also instructed that for now, over a year or so, Akonta Mining Company Limited has ceased operation and not in operation as we speak. My further instruction is also that nobody from the company or acting for on behalf of the company has done anything to undermine the status of Akonta Mining Company in Ghana. I'm equally happy that the minister has instructed that investigations and subsequent prosecutions should go on. I'm also happy that the minister says that the he is convinced that there is an agreement between Akonta Mining and some illegal miners. I'm very sure that the minister is in the position to submit to your verification and the document sticking to that agreement. Other than that, it continues to be one of the wild allegations.
So you
are saying that my client instructs me that they have not violated any law in Ghana in respect of their mining license or their profession. And therefore, we start to reason that we will leave the investigating body to continue with their work and then come out with their findings. Nevertheless, the minister proposed to have issued instructions to the Minerals Commission to take steps to cancel the licenses issued or revoke the licenses issued to Akonta Mining. And that is where I have a problem.
Okay.
Because the minister does not have that authority before the investigation. And the minister also that in all matters of investigation, he will have to wait until the investigation team completes its work and submit its report to the minister. And I want to believe that in the process of the investigation, the company will be given the opportunity to defend its position. Because national justice was required that parties must be there. It is possible for the minister to come out now to propose to be a direction that suggests that he has found a conductive guilty of the offense that they have not charged. So we are happy that the minister wants to address that branch of investigation, doing a report and indicting a company or its officials, and then further issuing instructions to the entity in respect of its clients. I am also informed that Akonta Mining is in the process of going to court. We have so been instructed to go to court.
To do what exactly? To ask for what exactly?
Against the minister's in challenge of the purported of the issue against Akonta Mining.
All right.
So the coming days will see us go to court and vindicate the position of Akonta Mining. So I'm directing the minister to initiate the prosecution immediately. And you know that criminal trial and criminal liability rests with the person. It cannot be vicariously said by an entity or any person. So if they have arrested persons who may have contravened the law, I will encourage them to go ahead with it. But one thing I can say for sure is that Akonta Mining has not sent anybody into any forest plan.
Okay.
Again, there was an allegation that Akonta Mining is taking money access to illegal miners goods.
All right. But we've lost Mr. Andy, but he's made a point, so we'll leave it here for now. Thank you very much. Mr. Andy Appiah could be his legal counsel to Akonta Mining. Mr. Ashigbe, apart from Akonta Mining, are there other areas that you want the minister to focus his attention on as we step up the fight against Galamsey?
Mr. Appiah could be said. You see, and my point is the fact that the new evidence that the minister talks about is fine. You know, they should be able to deal with it. But Akonta Mining was in the Kano Nimere Forest Reserve. There's a lot of evidence to prove that Akonta Mining was in the Kano Nimere Forest Reserve, not in this particular instance, but previously. That, you know, in the police themselves, we should be asking the police what encounter between Akonta Mining and the Samra Boy people were they called in to come and to come and deal with. At the time that we were talking about, Akonta Mining had concession outside the Tanonibri Forest Reserve. They were mining close. The buffer policy, that expects every legal miner to work separately. There's a buffer between their concession and the Tano River had been breached. And so for me, yes, we all welcome the investigations. And the investigation should not be only about this particular time. The investigation to go as far back as to when we sent the petition to the IGP to look into this particular issues. And we should not allow, anybody to, when we all know, and the evidence abounds. The evidence abounds. And so I would encourage the Minister for the Attorney General and also encourage the Office of the Special Prosecutor to really look into this thing and get to the bottom of it. And I would say it should start from all the way up to when that particular issues were done. And again, to answer your question, it should not only Akonta Mining that should be looked at.
Right.
We should look into the issues of Heritage Imperial as well, who were giving exploratory licenses that were alleged to have gotten themselves involved in mining itself. They were in court, and in their court documents, when they sued the rascals, they talked about their mining operations. We also should be looking at the NDC MP for our win. The NDC MP for our win has been accused by his traditional authority of being involved in Galamsey. He says it's not true, and he is accusing his colleagues, his chiefs. That should be investigated. The NDC constituency chairperson for Axim has been accused by the Adamus Resources, a large-scale mining firm, of being involved in Galamsey. That should be investigated. Erastus did a story in which the NDC constituency chairman for Dunkwao was preventing the military people who had gone to do legitimate operation, asking them that how come he was not informed. All of these people should also be investigated. If found culpable, be brought to book. And it's in the same light that we should also ask that the report that was done by Honorable Professor from Pomboate should also be looked at.
Right.
It is important, if we're going to deal with the scourge of Galamsey, the politically exposed people, the so-called kingpins, would have to be dealt with. Not only, the people who themselves are victims, who are caught in the pits. They also should be punished.
Right.
But the most important thing is these kingpins who have to be dealt with.
Thank you very much. Dr. Kenneth Osigbe is the convener of the Media Coalition Against Illegal Mining. Now, away from Galamsey, and before we go, President Mahama is urging ECOWAS not to treat the three countries that have exited ECOWAS with isolation, recrimination, but with dialogue and the willing ability to listen and to engage, stressing that Ghana is willing to serve as a bridge to ensure that this is done. Now, speaking at the launch of the 50th anniversary of ECOWAS, he stated that unity and collaboration remain essential to achieving prosperity and stability across West Africa, describing the recent decision by Mali, Burkina Faso, and Niger to withdraw from ECOWAS as a regrettable development. Presidential correspondent Maswala Gbagba was there for Joy News.
The conference center where West African leaders like the Liberian President Joseph Boakai, the Vice President of the Gambia, was also present. We also had the former President of Ghana, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, the Ghanaian chair, and other high-ranking government officials were present for the launch of the 50th anniversary of the ECOWAS. In a speech by the ECOWAS chairman, read on his behalf by the Foreign Minister of Nigeria, the ECOWAS chairman stated that he is concerned about the unconstitutional changes in West Africa. He says it threatens the democratic gains of the regional bloc.
The region continues to grapple with new and evolving threats: violent extremism, climate change, and food insecurity. The wave of unconstitutional changes in our region seriously threatens the democratic gains we have painstakingly built. I'm willing to engage in sustained, constructive dialogue with our estranged brothers, those member states currently outside our fold. At the same time, there is an urgent need to implement bold, comprehensive reforms that will enhance our institutions' effectiveness.
President John Mahama was the host for the official launch of the 50th anniversary of the ECOWAS. The theme for the event and the year-long celebration and the official logo were unveiled here at the International Conference Center. In his speech, President Mahama stated that Ghana is ready to serve as a bridge to foster unity in West Africa.
Today, our region is faced with a complex array of threats: violent extremism, growing insecurity in the Sahel, political instability, economic disparities, and climate vulnerabilities. In moments like these, diplomacy and solidarity must remain our first and strongest line of defense. The recent decision by Mali, Burkina Faso, and Niger to withdraw from ECOWAS is a regrettable development. Yet, even in this, continuous engagement must remain our lodestar. We must respond not with isolation or recrimination, but with understanding, dialogue, and a willingness to listen and to engage.
Well, we are almost ending up, but there's a program coming your way tomorrow. It will be live on Join Us from 10 a.m. till midday from the UPSA that's what you have, the tackling tax revenue leakages in Ghana. We've got fantastic guests who will be there to speak on this particular matter, and you don't want to miss it. Folks, that's our show for today. It's been exciting having you. I enjoyed your engagement as well on our social media hand. Let's do this tomorrow, same time here on Join Us. For more stories, log on to our website, myjoyonline.com, and then we've got more interaction on the CJ matter. Whatever you are up to in the hours ahead, I hope it's profitable. Have a good evening and take care. See you tomorrow.